Hey Star Wars fans, welcome back to the channel. Bro DeLorean here with a little bit of a different video today. You may have seen me make helmets or install/review lightsabers on this channel, like the Skull by KR Sabers, which I absolutely love. Happened to be the last video I uploaded on the channel, so if you haven't seen it, go check that one out if you're into sabers. Pretty cool. But in that video, I kind of hinted at this event that I went to and this cosplay that I put together, and that's what I'm here to share today. So me and my friends went to an event called Star Wars Night in Disneyland. And it's pretty cool. So they like close the park down early, and then they let the Star Wars Night people in, and you can stay till 1 in the morning. Whole park's available to you, including Galaxy's Edge, obviously, and you can be in full cosplay. Which I mean, you can do some cosplay stuff at Disneyland, but not like full-on characters. They don't normally allow that, but they do during Star Wars Night. So I put together this cosplay and brought the lightsaber, and I just gotta say, if you ever have the opportunity, I mean, we're talking like cosplay at Disneyland, hanging out late at night in Galaxy's Edge with shows and events and 1,000 of your closest friends with lightsabers. Like, it's kind of a vibe, just saying. Totally worth checking out. If you ever have the opportunity to go to a Star Wars Night, you should check it out. It's pretty fun. But anywho, let's talk about this cosplay a little bit. I'm gonna break this down into a couple sections. So we'll talk about the costume, the armor, and the other stuff that I did to the costume. So starting with the fabric costume itself, this came from procosplay.com. I had a super great experience with them, and let me backtrack just 1 minute. I had actually ordered a costume from another company. It was actually on Amazon. Got it, and it was just a little too tight. It wasn't comfortable, and it just didn't look right on me. So I thought I'd try one more company, and I tried Pro Cosplay. And I noticed on their site, well, one, you can order different tiers of their costumes. So if you want like something entry level or something super deluxe, and then within that you can order like just the costume, or with or without the cape or the boots. And anyway, check out procosplay.com. Lots of options. One of the options was putting in custom measurements, and I thought, oh, okay, perfect. Okay, if you haven't met me, I am a big dude. I mean it. I'm like 6'1", 6'2", 300 pounds. I'm a large man. So finding a costume isn't always the easiest thing, and when I saw you could put in custom measurements, I was like, here we go, this is what I need. So I ordered it, and their customer service department reached out to me and said, Elvis, we're so sorry, but your measurements are just a little bit outside of the pattern for this costume, and our seamstress or tailor, our costume maker, is uncomfortable cutting beyond the pattern. And I'm like, I'm too fat for the pattern. That's great. But anyway, super understanding. I realize why they weren't able to do that. But if you're any bit smaller than me, you can do the custom measurements. But anywho, I said, no problem. I'd still like to really try it. So if I may, will you send me your standard 3XL? And if it fits, it fits. If it don't, may I return it? And they said yes. So anyway, all that's to say is that I had multiple back and forth emailing with Pro Cosplay, and it was just a really great experience. I highly recommend procosplay.com. Anywho, okay, so here's the costume. Here's my first test fit of it. And so, I just turned the camera on, threw the costume on. I had already 3D printed some of the armor pieces that I had planned to do, so I threw those onto. They're very loosely, like rubber band to me. But yeah, I just wanted to see what it looked like, or get a feel for, how it draped and so on and so forth. And I thought, this is good. This fits. I like the way that it looks, so decided to continue with doing everything else, like getting the lightsaber and, painting the armor and all that stuff. So anyway, the cosplay comes with some, I don't want to call them armor pieces because they're fabric, but you know, they look like leather or, yeah, I guess leather's probably the best way to describe it. Here, let me grab one. Okay, here we go. So here's a gauntlet. You can see it's just kind of got that leather look to it. But you know, if you were doing a costume and not doing custom armor for it, it still looks pretty decent, actually. I have to admit, it's not bad. You know, here to wear this at a con or something like that, it's not a bad look. The armor pieces are that same, they're like the shoulder armor pieces are that same material, kind of like this leather look, and it has a strap that goes under your arm and a piece at the top that clips into the vest, which is really nice, actually. It's a well thought out costume, well engineered. So like you put the shirt on first and then the vest, and then they even have the opening to the belt on the side of the costume. So it's definitely designed so that you can try to put it on yourself. But anyway, great costume, super happy with it. But the armor is something that, well, I know how to 3D print and paint, and I wanted to upgrade the armor. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. So the files that I'm using are from MysteryMakers. I've done a lot of files from Marco at MysteryMaker Studios. Really, really awesome files. You can get them clean or with the texture. And so anyway, they printed out great. I have a couple photos here. In case you're wondering, I scaled them to 100% to the file, only because Ray Stevenson was 6'3", and I'm about the same size, so I figured, you know, print it about 100% size and see how it goes, and they fit perfect. So anyway, 100% scaling. But yeah, so here are the files. I'll print it up, and for finishing them, I did it just a little bit differently than how I normally do. So I will finish my props with resin, 3D printer resin. But this time I mixed some baby powder into the resin. I've seen a couple videos on YouTube where people mixed in baby powder, and it just made the resin just a little bit easier to sand. And yeah, I ended up liking doing that, so I'll probably keep doing that in the future. But after I sanded the prop, and then I did the resin finishing, and then I sanded it again. I did the filler primer, sanded it one more time, and then one more shot with the filler primer, and then I went into black primer. And that's it. That's all I did to these as far as like the spray painting and stuff goes. Everything else was just dry brushed. Or sponged on, or you know, what have you. But yeah, let's go ahead and take a look at that. Like I said, they're in final black primer, and the next step was to do a turquoise wash. So what I did is I just mixed up some turquoise acrylic paint and a little water, put it in a spray bottle, and sprayed the pieces completely, and then wiped it all off. And I did this a few times just to get some more turquoise to stick. In fact, sometimes I'll even just let it stay on a little bit longer before trying to take it all off. But yeah, a couple turquoise washes to kind of get the base color going before we go into any dry brushing or sponging. The next thing I did is I added some highlights to pretty much all the edges of the pieces using some Rub and Buff. And I just used a real simple sponge brush, a little bit of Rub and Buff, and just very lightly went around all of the edges of the piece, including like the little rivet looking things and the dents and scratches, just to give it a little more dimension, a little more shine. I did do a silver one because I thought the contrast looked the best on the darker color, but I think his armor's technically supposed to be like brass or copper or something. So I did end up adding some of that color later as well, but I did the silver Rub and Buff on the edges just for that extra contrast. But now comes the fun part. It's time to weather this armor, and Baylan's weathering is a very heavy patina look, way heavier than you might even think. So like on screen, it ends up just kind of looking black, right? Because of, you know, the exposure, the LUT, the color correction, you know, everything that they do to make it look stylized for the show that they, you know, do, almost makes his armor look completely black, but it's so far from the truth. A friend of mine took a photo of it at the Ahsoka like red carpet premiere thing in LA when it was on display, and its color, its patina is so dramatic to me. I mean, under this lighting, who knows, you know, maybe it's greener or bluer or lighter or darker, but anyway, you can see a ton of that patina weathering on here. So my goal was to kind of get a happy medium between what it really looks like and what we see on screen. So I wanted to do that patina, but I didn't want it to look exactly like, you know, that photo, like it was like completely green or something like that. But yeah, so let's go ahead and take a look at how I did that. The first color I used was a bronze color because, like I was saying, I think these armor pieces are supposedly like made out of like a bronze or a copper, you know, some type of brownish colored metal. So I took a bronze metallic actually, and I sponged all over the entire piece to add some bronze highlights to it. They're very subtle, but when the light hits it, you can definitely see the bronze color, and it kind of helps tie everything together, honestly. So I did bronze all over the whole thing. And then I went into some different colors, and the first color I used was teal. Again, using a sponge, I just sponged on, dry without mixing with any water or anything, and I sponged on little dots of teal kind of all over, mostly on top and at the bottom around the edges, like the patina was like kind of collecting around the edges of this piece over the years. But then after the teal, I went into a green. And then after the green, I mixed some turquoise and white, actually, to give myself some highlight colors in that patina. And then last up, I mixed up some black and some bronze and kind of just went over everything that I'd already done before, just to bring it back a little bit, because there was like a lot of color on it at this point, and now the little black flecks going into the paint broke up the other colors even more, and it just makes it look a little more natural. It looks kind of funny up close. Like if you look at it real close, you can see all these dots. It looks a little strange here. You can see the light hitting those bronze pieces. But you know, the farther back you get, it all of a sudden that patina starts to, boy, these lights are really bright. It's kind of hard to show off in this light. But yeah, so once you get all those colors together and move a little bit farther away, it starts to look more real, more realistic anyway. I did the rest of the armor just like that, and then I needed to do the costume, because thinking back to that photo, he doesn't just have the patina on the armor, he also has it on his outfit as well. So what I did is first I wanted to bring it from that black color to give it kind of like a worn-in, weathered look. So what I would do is I would kind of bunch the fabric up and then overspray it with some spray paint. So to be clear, I'm not spraying the fabric with the spray paint, I'm spraying near the fabric, and what lands on the fabric is just the overspray of it. Otherwise, you're going to get too much color too fast, so you're really like trying to get very little on the fabric. After I did that, I would kind of pull it flat, re-bunch it up a different way, and do it again. Over and over and over again, so that anyway, it just didn't look black anymore, it looked worn and older. After every time I did the overspray, I would also scratch it up with some sandpaper too, which also kind of helped wear the fabric in a little bit. But anyway, after all that, now that it wasn't just black anymore, it was kind of more worn looking, I went in and did the dry sponging of the same patina colors, just like I did on the armor. So I did the turquoise, the green, that light, almost white turquoise color, and then I would also bring in the blacks and some sandpaper and just kind of mix it all together. Then I decided to make the buckle too, because it was included in the files. Plus the cosplay prop is just kind of small, and I figured this would look better on me. So I resin printed these just to save myself some time on sanding, and then I primed them with black primer, I clear coated them, and then I shot them with Alumoluster. After that, I did clear coat them both again, but on the stone, I used a emerald colored alcohol ink and mixed that into my clear coat so I could kind of make this thing look more like a precious stone or like an emerald or I don't think it's supposed to be a kyber crystal, but anyway, I tried to make it look shiny and pretty. And then after that, I got some gold wire, and I was too afraid I was going to mess up the paint on the green one, so I had a second one that I was doing some testing on for colors and stuff like that, so I bent the wire on that one so I wouldn't do any scratches to the paint or anything, and then just attached it all together and put a little bit of Velcro behind it so it could attach to the costume. But here is the old prop versus what I made. So anyway, I think you probably agree with me. It's an upgrade for the costume anyway. The last thing I wanted to do was add some flair, a little flash, literally, to the gauntlets and put in some electronics. It's the first time I've ever worked with LEDs. I watched a couple of YouTube videos on how to wire these things. It's super, super basic. They're literally running off of a coin battery. But so what I did is I wanted to actually put the LED like in the button, so to speak. So in order to do that, like MysteryMakers has these little files to put the buttons in, but what I decided to do was kind of make my own. So I put a little bit of resin in the gauntlet with tape behind it, and then just kind of harden it as I go, just like a resin printer would. And then I put the LED in there and hardened that so the LED was actually stuck in the resin. But yeah, worked out pretty easy. I just had to solder some wires together to this little coin battery, and yeah, I mean, it worked out great. Not that the LEDs aren't cool enough as it is. I decided to put some screens in here, and I found this on Etsy. You can find a few different people that will make and program these screens. But it's just a little 1.3 inch screen working off some AAA batteries. Reached out to my buddy, the Saber Merchant, and he actually created this file for it. So we measured the screen and measured the opening of the gauntlet. He made this little adapter so it would fit in there perfectly. But yeah, this really kind of set it apart. Like, this is it's pretty neat having the electronics in there. It really gives it something. Couple other miscellaneous things with the costume. Let me put up a photo of the cloak. So on the cloak, you can see I did the overspray weathering on it, so it wasn't just black. And then also I cut a whole bunch of little slits in the cloak near the bottom. And then I would take some sandpaper and like kind of go against the grain, against those slits. And that would start to pull out little fibers and fabric or strings, and that's what made it that like kind of ratty look. But yeah, that turned out really good. I'm happy with that. I'm also wearing a ring in some photos you might notice. It's not Baylan's ring. Baylan wears this really huge, gaudy, looks like an emerald ring or something. Some people say it's a kyber crystal. I don't know what it is, but anyway, I haven't made that yet, and I ran out of time to complete that before Star Wars night, so I just went on Amazon and started searching like men's emerald ring or something, I forget, and I found the ring that I'm wearing for $5, and I thought, done, can't beat that. Like, but I do want to make the official ring, and yeah, I think that's it. Oh, my hair. I have gray hair in the photos, obviously. That's it's a gray / silver hair clay, styling clay. So it actually will style your hair and keep it there. It actually gets kind of crunchy and like super frozen from that hair clay, but it washes out. And I have to admit, I think the hair clay looks nicer But as far as ease of use goes, you might consider, if you're doing one of these cosplays, you might consider just doing the colored hairspray, like from a Halloween store, Party City, or wherever. But yeah, that might be a little easier for application. Combing in the hair clay and like trying to get everything all silver it's a bit of work. But yeah, hairspray might be a little bit easier. And yeah, I think that is all I wanted to cover. It's probably 20 minutes in, I'm sorry. If you are still watching this video, you're a trooper. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. But yeah, so, I want to do one quick shout out as well. I got very, anxious or weary or nervous or whatever about telling people about doing this cosplay, because normally I'll share a photo of a helmet or something that's still on the printer with people. I'm like, look what I'm going to start on, and I often tell people what I'm working on. And this one I didn't, because I was scared it wasn't going to fit. And until I had a costume in hand that fit, I didn't really want to tell many people, because what if I couldn't find the costume? Then what's the point of doing the armor or the lightsaber or telling everyone? So there's a handful of people that I had sent some photos to early on. If you're one of them, well, you know who you are then, and let me just say thank you. Your support and hype for what I was working on really motivated me. So anyway, just wanted to say thank you so much. Really appreciate you. And the guys at Star Wars Night that like helped me get dressed and stuff, like I think Paul and Jesse are putting some armor on me. I'll put a video up. But yeah, thanks guys, appreciate you all. I love that it's been kind of a team effort. Like often someone needs to like help me put some pieces on. My wife has helped me like get the gray in the back of my head and stuff like that. And by the way, her favorite joke is every time I wash the gray out, she likes to say, "You miss some." Funny, honey. Thank you. But yeah, thank you so much to everyone that like supported me. It really kind of motivated me to do this cosplay, and I'm just so happy that I did. I'm so happy that it turned out as good as it did, because it's just fun. It sounds silly, but like dressing up in this costume and hanging out with a bunch of other people that are doing the cosplay thing too. I don't know. It's like you can't have a bad time. It's like it's just silly and fun. And yeah. So anyway, I went way too long with this one. Thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate the support. Please like, comment, subscribe. Click the bell for alerts. I don't know why I say all that stuff like like I'm some important YouTuber that you need alerts right when I load something. But anywho, thank you so much. Appreciate you all. May the force be with you, and catch you in the next one. Bye guys.